All right, welcome people. Welcome to Trending with Jyotsna Sharma. This is my first brand new digital media related show where we would be always live on digital media, and I'll be bringing in exceptional guests to guide you, to enlighten you, and to bring the right knowledge at the front. This is a show where we will take the deep dive on the topics that relate to our lives where we are located, basically. Yes, I am in the United States of America, and so are most of you. This show will focus on the issues that relate to the Indians in America, or Indian Americans, or Americans in general as well. We will talk about various issues today for the first time on this Trending with Jyotsna Sharma. Specifically, Prashanthi Reddy, my expert immigration attorney friend, has joined. I am very thankful to Prashanthi for gracing and acknowledging and accepting my invite to be on this online show with me. As such, me and Prashanthi share a great relation where I have interviewed her on various TV platforms ranging from Mana TV, TV5, TV Asia, ITV Gold, and of course now she always supports us as such as we speak about the immigrant community, or the the people who are aspiring to be in the United States of America, be it a work visa, be it a family related visa immigration, be it the students or various other kind of asylum seekers, and everybody. Prashanthi is there to help. Prashanthi Reddy is a great friend of mine and who has great credentials to her name. She is registered in the Bar of the New York, and of course has been consulting the Indian Consulate in New York as well, has many awards to her name, and has guided thousands and thousands of visa holders, specifically in the employment based category, as well as the various other immigration perspectives. She has guided people on those fronts. Prashanthi, very warm welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining tonight.
You're welcome, Jyotsna. Thank you so much for your kind words, and it's always a pleasure to see you, and always fun to do a show with you. So, I couldn't say no to the opportunity, and it's great to be here.
Thank you so much, Prashanti. And as we speak, what I'll be doing today is I would be sharing, as I request the other people also to kindly please share this, interview with maximum people so that they can benefit. As you can understand, what has happened with the new October 2022 Visa Bulletin, there are a lot of issues that are, biting the people who are already, long wait of green card backlog, and they are seeking right answers. And for sure, I have Prashanthi ready to resort, or say to seek answers for all those questions. And what I'm going to do is right now, we'll be sharing this page with all the people in the groups so that everybody can benefit. I was just doing the testing first, but now is the time to start this. And I would request you to post your comments on the comment section in the on the page, as well as you can do one more thing is you can equally call me. My number is 201 780 2442. I will put my number. You can call me here. Can call me at 201 780 2442 to ask questions, and they will be directly uh, answered by Prashanthi Reddy. The topics that we are picking today are, you know, first and foremost, of course, the October 22 Visa Bulletin, and the relatable topics are the remaining visa numbers, basically. We will focus on that, and then the visa outlook for the next year, as of course you have doubts as to what happens the next year. And of course, we will take FAQs regarding the age out, EADs, and APs. And of course, I definitely have started getting answers, questions also, Prashanthi. But yes, Prashanthi, first and foremost, there was a lawsuit. In response to that lawsuit, on September 6th, something came up through USCIS. And that's how things have changed. Do you have any information and idea about the lawsuit, Prashanthi?
Yes, so this is very recent, as Jyotsna was
Madhavan
saying.
versus Jadhav.
Yes. So what happened is, in this case, Andrew Parker, who is basically an officer of the Department of State, has given a very detailed report as to what the status is of visa allocations. And also he's kind of explained what the process is, which is very interesting. We know this, but it's nice for those who don't know to go over, this whole document. It'll give you an idea as to what has happened this year, how many visas numbers were there, how many have been allotted so far, and how many visa numbers remain um, until the end of September. This is extremely important because for all those who have filed their EB2 and EB3 cases and whose visa numbers are available as to the visa bulletin in September,
Right.
it's important to know whether you're going to get your visa or not until the end of September, because we know now, and that's the second topic we're going to discuss. We know what the October visa bulletin is going to say, and we know it's not good news. So let's talk about first what the current situation is with reference to this fiscal year and what the visa availability is. So
Right.
basically, to start, this year, about 280,000 visas have been allotted, employment-based visas. So as we all know, there are a certain number of visas allotted every year for both family-based categories as well as employment-based categories, and it's a
Right.
limited number. It's not unlimited. So the number of visas issued for the family-based um, and the number of visa numbers used. So totally we have from the family based, we have 141,507 visa numbers that have been moved over to employment based, and we have the employment based visa numbers available, which is 140,000. So in total, for 2022, we have about 281,507 visa numbers available for all of this year. And
Right.
these visas have to be used up, as we know, by September 2022, because in October, then the new fiscal year starts, and it's a whole new ball game, new visa numbers, et cetera, et cetera. So let's talk about what we have now and what to expect for the end of the fiscal year.
Right.
So for EB1, EB2, EB3, so we know that we have this many visas and they have to be allocated among the different visa categories. So there's EB1, EB2, EB3,
Right.
EB4, and EB5 categories totally. So the EB1, EB2, EB3 categories, about 28.6% is what they get, what they're allocated. And EB4 and EB5 get about 7.1% of the overall visa limit. Also, there's a statutory provision by Congress where if certain visas in certain categories are not required or not used, these are then moved on to the different visa categories. So this is called the fall up or the fall down. Pretty much it means that, for example, if the EB1 category is not used, then that falls down to the EB2 category. And if the EB2 category, the visa numbers are not used, then it falls down to EB3, to EB4, to EB5, so on and so forth.
Getting it.
So with the fall up and the fall down, it's possible that, it's more than 28% used by a certain category, right? In addition to this categories, we also have per country limits.
Right.
So if you're looking at the Indian subcontinent, then, you have only a certain number allocated to India and all other countries. So there's a 7% annual per country limit that applies to all family-based as well as employment-based preferences. So every country cannot use more than 7%.
Agreed.
But again, there's an exception here. The exception is that if the other countries are not being used, so if say worldwide they don't use the numbers allocated to them, then that could go into the backlogged countries, which is pretty much India and China at this point, because all other categories are current for the other countries. To give you an idea as to how this works, so Indian nationals used over 50% of all the EB1 visas, even though there's only a 7% limit for each country. But they ended up using 50% of the
The
EB1,
spillover coming from the balance
yes,
ones,
because of the
other countries.
spillover from the other countries, because they don't need them. So they
Right.
use 51% from EB1, 47% of the EB2 visas, and about 27% of the EB3 visas. So that's how it actually worked out this year. So that's basically the spillover and the percentages and how it works. So also it's important to understand how, a final action date is established and what that means and what those numbers look like. So when the amount of demand for a particular category exceeds the supply of the visa numbers available, so if there are more 485s filed than actual visa numbers available, then there's a cutoff date that's established. And so it will no longer be current. So these, for example, if there are about 3,000 visa numbers available for India, and say 8,000 applicants, 8,485s have been filed, then the Department of State will establish a cutoff date so that only 3,000 visa numbers can be used because that's the only ones available. So they'll establish a cutoff date so that the 3,001st applicant will not be able to file. That's how they establish final action dates or
Prashanti,
cutoff
let's
dates.
trace back a little bit of history. The euphoria that happened in 2020, October, when the visa bulletin came and lots of dates became current. Of course, thanks to Trump administration putting the travel ban, and that travel ban led to, family numbers coming to us. I'm getting one call right now, and I'll pick this for you, Prashanti. Uh, Welcome to Training with Jyotsna Sharma. You're live with me. May I know your name, please? All right. Looks like the call dropped. I'll get the call again. So you can resume as we speak about
Yeah,
Prashanti.
yeah. So again, that's how final action dates are established. And I'm just giving some background so that people understand what's happening.
Right.
And often what happens is when the final action date is established, there is such a thing as retrogression. What happens with the retrogression? The final action date retrogresses, meaning it moves backward. So retrogression is basically the term used to describe a backward movement of a final action date,
Mm-hmm.
which we will talk about soon in the October
Right.
Visa Bulletin, right?
Absolutely.
So
Hi,
that's what
I got a caller again,
retrogression.
Shanti.
Yeah,
Sorry to
yeah, go
interrupt
ahead.
you.
Yeah.
May I know your name, please?
Next year.
Ramesh, please ask your question from Prashanti.
Yeah, my question is, so when we get EAD,
I cannot, maybe you
will
can
be
speak up.
protected. My
Or
son is
Jyotsna, if you can hear the question, then you can
One
just repeat
second,
it.
1 second, Ramesh. Yes, Prashanti, what are you saying?
I can't hear him, so if you can hear him, then you can just, tell me what
Okay,
he's saying.
so if I put it now, can you hear it? Just let me know. Ramesh, can you repeat your question?
Yeah. So my question is, when we file 485 and get EAD, does kids' age get protected? I mean, my son is 16 years old. We filed 485 and we got EAD. My underlying 140 is approved. So will he be protected for age if the dates don't
So
move?
Prashanti, question is, will the age get logged in if at the time of 485 filing, do we get to lock the age as well as they have got their EAD? Although of course the numbers for GC have gone off now.
So, to answer that question, it depends on what basis you filed. If you filed based on final action dates, then yes, absolutely. Your child's age gets locked in as of the date of filing of the 485. So you don't have to
Okay,
worry
so
even if
if it is
your
on
date retrogresses.
if it is on final action dates, then only the date locks, not on the date of filing.
That's correct. Unless the date of filing becomes current, right? If
Right.
your date of filing date becomes the final action date at some point later on, and your child at that point, on that day that it becomes current, is still under the age of 21, then even then your date gets locked.
Got it.
Oh,
Ramesh, were you able to
okay.
hear
So
that?
I got that. So it is not at the time of the filing, right? So at some point, the date becomes current, final action date became current, and also I-140 is approved. So, but we filed at 2021. At that point of time, I-140 is not approved because we filed together concurrently. So, but during last 12 months, at one point, the final election date is current.
Okay.
I-140
So
is
let me
retrogressed.
rephrase it for Prashanti. Prashanti, here is a glitch. What had happened is their date got current final action for once, but they had done a concurrent filing for I-140. As you can understand, they were downgrading, upgrading. So it so happened, although it became current for some time, the concurrent filing happened, and then I-140 was not there, but the date was current. You understand?
Yeah,
How do you
so it
equate
doesn't
that?
matter. It
Okay.
doesn't matter on that date, whenever that date, when it became current, on that day, if your child was still under 21, which she is because she's only 16 still,
Right.
the date gets locked as of that date.
Perfect. Okay, so the date is locked for you, Naresh.
Okay. Thank
Rest
you.
assured, all the best, but I hope this new year, 2023, should get you something better. Don't worry
Sure.
about it. Okay, thank you. Prashanti, of course, as we go ahead, talking and discussing, there is another question that comes back from Anusha Dhawala. She says, my PD, okay, I'm getting a question live though. Let me, hello? Please ask your question and your name, please. One second. Can you repeat your name and question? Prasad Reddy, tell me.
Yeah, so my question is, my priority date is October 2013, and I filed in June of this year when my priority date became current. Final date became current, and so I haven't got any EAD, and I haven't even got the EAD also. So my question is like, we don't know like how much time it's taking now. So can I travel out of country while I'm waiting for my EAD and advance parole, or is it suggested that I should just wait for them to get in my hand and then go out of country?
All right.
So
Travel is
if you
travel
can
time.
travel when your
Okay, Prasad.
485 is pending, and you can, as long as, I mean, and you don't have to wait for EAD or AP to come to travel, as long as you have a means of coming back into the country. So
You have a visa
I'm
stamp?
presuming,
Yes. No, I need to go to stamp as well.
Prashanti, he says he has to go for a stamping. So the risk is again,
yeah. So if you have to go for stamping, then you have to go for stamping, and you'll then be able to come back on a H1 visa, presumably. And once you come back, you're still fine. Your 485 continues to be processed.
yes.
But if
Now,
you leave the country and
just to
cannot come back
enlighten
into the
both
country,
of you, rather, I would say the problem that is happening right now with the H1B visa stamping in India is you're not getting dates, number one, for the visa stamping. And moreover, the Dropbox facility is not as cool as it was earlier because people are getting held back for 20 to 30 days, even 60 days, even after Dropbox is provided, even though you are going for Dropbox. So, Mr. Reddy, be aware of that before you travel. And otherwise, yes, you should wait for your EAD AP to come in your hands. We understand that your date got current. But Prashanti, I have a question. His date got current to 2013 was the date. Now dates are retrogressing. How do you foresee? Will he get his EAD AP at least or not?
yeah, he'll definitely get his EAD AP. That has nothing to do with whether the dates are current or not. That is just a normal, natural aspect of processing of a 485. When you file a 485, you are entitled to EAD and AP. But as the gentleman said, if he wants to take the risk and go and get a visa and come back in on the visa, absolutely you can do that. Of course, there is a risk of not being able to come back because the visa might get rejected, and there is the risk of delay definitely because there are no dates available. So it depends on what your emergency is, what your situation is. Everybody has a different situation. And
Right.
of course, we know EAD, AP is not something that's coming in 3 months or coming in a definite period of
Absolutely.
time. That is getting delayed as well. So you have to weigh your options.
So, even though I travel out of country, my EID and advance parole applications will be in processing state. They won't get cancelled. Is that right?
So that's an interesting question because what was happening is that for some time when you had a pending advance parole and you traveled, they were actually canceling the advance parole application and you would have to then refile. You can always refile. You had to refile your application then as a new application. But recently, I don't think they're doing that. They were doing it under Trump, but I think recently They may not be doing it, but as I said, it's a risk. USCIS, it depends on um, what they're doing at that moment in time. But right now, it seems that if you have an EAD AP pending and you travel, they're not canceling the EAD AP, but they can go back to doing that at any point of time. They were canceling a pending application if you travel. Yes, they were doing that.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I definitely understand that it's not suggestible to travel, but I have some things I need to take care of. It's been a while. I went back in the situation, like it's going back and forth, and we might
Well,
get.
we wish you all the very best. Take the right step, right decision. That's what we can say. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Prashanthi. In fact, a lot of questions coming in. When will March 2015 EB2 be current in the final action dates? It's like, okay, astrology is not your profession, though, Prashanthi. What is your
And I don't have
take?
a Pandora's box, and I don't have the ability
That's
to look into the future. I wish I did. I really wish I did. Then I would have answered that question. But the only thing we can say is that EB2 is, as we know, October Visa Bulletin. We can talk about that.
mhm,
EB2 has retrogressed by 2 years and 8 months, I believe. It's gone back to April 2012 from December 2014. EB3 it has a better now, it's just a seesaw. It's so ridiculous. So EB3 has some prospects now. It's moved forward by 2 months, both in the final action date as well as dates for filing. And EB2 has moved back, both dates for filing and final action date have moved back significantly. And the prospects for moving forward are not that great because we know that this year, this fiscal year, the next fiscal year, we're only most probably going to have a limited visa numbers availability simply because those family-based cases, that 142,000 family-based cases that got moved to employment-based, are not there anymore because they are being used up in the family category. This year, in the beginning of the year, in the first half of the year itself, the consulates processed um, uh, many more cases than they processed in the entire 2021. So, just from that, you can see that the consular cases, family-based cases, are being going back to normal slowly. So
mhm.
we can't expect to have that kind of fall down from family-based to employment-based. And that's why we're seeing cutoff dates for EB2.
Getting it. So, Prashanti, I have a question from Pradeep Koganti. He says USCIS is marking several cases as case remaining pending starting September 6th. Does it mean the adjudication is complete and files are sent to the storage waiting for the final action date to be current? Can you please explain pre-adjudication process at the field offices?
Sure. So again, let's talk about then, this is a good segue into the
Right,
projected annual limit for EB3,
right.
what the numbers are remaining, so the gentleman has an idea as to what's happening with his case, and everybody else has an idea as to what what to expect for the this fiscal year. So basically, USCIS, based on their pending inventory and based on the cases that have been filed so far and the numbers available for EB3, the estimated annual limit is for India is 12,700 cases. They have used 12,460 cases so far. This is August 31st. Okay, we're not even talking about the first week of September.
Wow.
So they have remaining 240 cases remaining. Okay, and the inventory that they have pending, the adjustment cases that they still have pending as of September 6th, is 24,736 cases.
My
So
goodness.
those 24,736 cases are going to get backlogged, and even though your date is current, your case will not be processed simply because as of September 6th, most probably they have used up even those 240 cases. So it's a funny situation because people can still continue to file 485s because as per the September Visa Bulletin, the dates are current. But what will happen is your case will be just kept pending because they have no visa numbers to approve your case now. So it might be that you will not be able to even file new 485 cases if they revise the September visa bulletin, which they should, because if there's no visa numbers available, how are they allowing new 485s to be filed? So I don't know if they'll um, revise that. That'll be bad news, because then no new 485s can be filed in this month, even if your date is current. So I would suggest whoever has a 485 and they have not filed it yet, and they're you know, working on the case to file it based on the September visa bulletin, they should file it now. You know, file it on Monday, file it on Tuesday.
Oh
Otherwise,
my God.
it's very likely, it's quite possible that they might even revise the September visa bulletin, right? So that's the situation. And with EB2, on the same note, the estimated annual limit number of visas available for India was 60,000. Visas used through August 31st is 57,214. So remaining visas as of August 31st, again, not counting the first week of September, is 2,786 that are remaining. And pending cases that where the priority dates are current, but the 485 has not been approved, is 39,627. You see significantly more than EB3. EB2 has much more inventory pending. And they're saying in the first week of September, um, they have pretty much used up all those pending visa numbers, those 2,000 cases. So as of September 6th, they're saying, USCIS is saying there are no visas remaining for applicants from any country of chargeability in EB1 and EB2. And for India in EB2 category, they received at least 2,786 cases between September 1 and September 6. So those visa numbers have really been used up. So bad news is, if you have not had your 485 adjudicated as yet, it's unlikely that it will be adjudicated, and it's likely that uh, it'll just be pending as it was. And as we know, we have already seen the October visa bulletin has come out, and your case, unfortunately will be retrogressed. So that's the most likely scenario, that, you know, your case will remain pending and will retrogress in October.
Getting it. So, Prashanti, do you think that whatever happened previously as the outflow of visas happened, I mean, the dates became current, EB2, EB3, they went up to 2015, right? Now, when this is retrogressed almost 2.5 years for both EB2 and EB3, how do you foresee what's going to happen as we speak about the visa numbers available? You are showing that you are talking about that bleak chance of getting the numbers. How do you see next year though then?
Like we just discussed, right? We can expect retrogression. Um, and unfortunately, I mean, we don't know whether dates for filing can be used or not. I think USCIS has not yet, at least I haven't seen it today. I don't know if
Mhm.
they've come up with something today as to which bulletin you can use, which table to use. But even the dates for filing don't look that great. It's pretty much the same as final action date. So even if they go with the dates for filing, I was hoping that that would be better and that would provide some relief, but it doesn't look like it will. Um,
Mhm.
so I don't see anything good happening, because if it did, it should have happened now, right? Because their October visa bulletin is the start of the fiscal year. They haven't even started it, and based on the cases that they have, they're saying that it's already retrogressed.
All right.
So I don't see a path forward. How is it going to get better?
Okay.
I don't see how it's going to get better, because they have that 140,000 or whatever, and they have a lot of cases that are pending. So unless they're able to clear those pending cases, and maybe um, then they'll get a better idea as to what visa numbers are remaining, and maybe they'll move it forward. Maybe EB3 will move forward a little bit, but I don't see how EB2 is going to move forward unless something happens and they come up with some new numbers.
Okay, so now I'm getting some more questions here. Thank you for those answers, Prashanti. It says, Subha says that Subha Chalamatasetti, I came to know that USCIS already released revised September bulletin this week. Is that correct? If yes, then will they release one more revised September bulletin? Any idea when it will be released? All right.
To the best of my knowledge, again, I haven't looked today. There is no new September visa bulletin released, unless you're aware of something, Jyotsna.
No, I have
It's
not
still the
seen anything,
same.
honestly.
Yeah, it's the
Right.
same September visa bulletin with the same dates, December 2014. Everyone is expecting, as I said, that it might be released. So again, guys, ladies, and gentlemen, if you have not yet filed your 485s, do it now. Do it next week.
Okay. There's another interesting question here which Siva Balineni is asking. It says, at what point of time does USCIS or Department of State allot a visa number to 485 file? Before medical RFE or once RFE is cleared?
So RFE and medical has nothing to do with that really. Once your case is complete, and once it is approvable and they have all the documents, then and when it is being looked at by an officer, that's when the officer requests. If it's on the desk of an officer, the officer, he or she sees that it's complete and ready for approval. That's when they allocate the visa number. This could be at the time of the interview also. If the date, they could reserve the visa number at the time of the interview if they think it's complete, right? Once the interview is done and if just processing is left over, just the green card has to be issued, they could reserve the visa number at that time also. But in general, if there's no interview, then that's whenever the officer finds the case to be complete,
Mhm.
that's when they reserve the visa number.
Okay. There's an unrelated question I'm picking up though. But of course, it came because Sam Khan says L2 EAD, can they work based on I-94 after March 2022? I'm not able
Yeah,
to understand this question.
yeah. So L2 EA, L2s no longer require, as per the new clarification on the law, which is already the law, but they've clarified it.
Mhm.
L2s don't have to apply for an EAD separately. So they can just work on their I-94. So that's a good thing because that frees up a lot of time, USCI's time to then adjudicate H4 EADs. And
Right.
also for L2s, they don't have like a 6 month, 1 year waiting time. They don't have to wait for an EAD to be issued. They can automatically work on an
Understood.
I-94. So the answer
So
is yes, they can work on an I-94.
perfect. So they can work. Thank you.
Correct.
Thanks for the answer. And Prashanti, going further again, as we speak about aging out, okay, I wanted to rephrase it again because, of course, we spoke in the beginning also. How do, kids age out in the process where for once their date became current, date of filing, a final action date, okay, 485 was filed, now it is retrogressing. What is the consideration for them?
So it's very interesting because I had this case where I had to decide whether to interfile or not. Sometimes just because you have an EB2 doesn't mean that blindly, it's a good idea for the person to interfile to an EB2, right? There is a very real consideration of aging out. And I'll give you an example so that, it's easy to understand. So the person filed for an EB3, right? And filed for EB3, I-140 and 485 concurrently. And they did a downgrade. They had an EB2 earlier. They did a downgrade in 2020. And that EB3 I-140 took a year to get approved. We know those
Right,
downgrade I-140s took a long time to
right,
get approved, sometimes even 2 years, right? Um, so and then at some point the EB3, we know EB3 got current at some point in 2021. A lot of EB3s got current.
right,
So in this particular scenario, the person actually was 20 years old or 21 plus years old at some point when the 485 was filed after it became pending, but was saved because we know that how the age of a child is calculated. So in this particular example, because the I-140 the EB3 I-140 took a year to get approved, right? So the child's age was deducted by 1 year, And luckily, the EB3 485 became current
Oh,
in a
wow.
year after filing. So at that particular date, when the EB3 I-140 uh, was approved and the date became current, the child of the age, the child's
Child.
age um, was 20 years and 11 months
Oh my God.
because we were able to deduct the processing time on the I-140. And the date that the priority date became current was 1 year later. So there were just a few days that the child was under 21 based on that artificial date. So now that the child's age was locked at that point when the priority date became current, it was only current for a month, but the child's age got locked, and it was locked at under 21, 20 years and 11 months or something like that. Now if this person, and then after that the next month the child again the date retrogressed, right? EB3 was no longer current, but luckily the child's age was locked because it's enough that at any time if it was current, the child's
Very
age gets
interesting.
locked. So
Very interesting.
now if the person files EB2 interfiling, because the parent, the EB2 became current now this
Right.
year,
Right.
so he wants to file an interfiling. If he does that, the child loses their age out date.
Oh my God. Okay. If they interfile, the child loses the date because it's on EB3.
Because now they're looking at EB2, and based
Wow.
on EB2, the child doesn't qualify and ages out.
My goodness. Okay. This
Because there was the
clarification.
EB2 got approved very quickly. There was no in 2 months, so there's no deduction of any time. I-140 pending time is not there or is not sufficient. And the date became current only now, like 2 years after the 485 was filed. So based on that, if you file interfiling, the date is no longer current, and the child's age is over 21. So that's why that parent decided not to do an interfiling, and is
Right.
still sticking with his EB3. So every case is different. Don't just blindly interfile. Consult an attorney and make sure that if you interfile, because they've said very clearly, if you interfile, then the EB2 date is used to calculate the child's age.
Absolutely. And then he would have logged up,
Yeah, so then you have
aged
a
out for
problem.
that.
So it's very
I'm getting more
interesting
questions
to,
here. Prashanti,
yeah,
the
yeah.
Anusha is asking, when we file EB5 I-526, does it provide age protection? Do we file separate I-526 for each family member or one of the family? Of
So
course,
you
it's
have to
EB5
file a
related question.
526 and a 485 together.
It's
And
concurrent.
same thing, yeah, if your date is current, then it'll provide protection, otherwise it won't.
Okay. So EB5 again is not, okay, for India, it might be current.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question from Ranganath Purohit. He says, I have EB3 EAD plus AP and EB2 EAD. If we use EB3 EAD, then do I get logged to EB3 forever? Okay, interesting question.
Yes, you might, because you have a 485, right? And you're not on a H1 anymore because you're using EAD. Then if you can no longer withdraw that EB3 485 because that is your status now, because you don't have an underlying status anymore. So if you were to withdraw that 485, then what is your status? Then it's your EB2 it's your EB2 485 status, right? So you can choose between your EB2 485 and EB3 485. But you can once you use your EAD, my point is you can no longer file another 485.
Right.
So you're stuck with either this or that.
So, as an expert advice, what do you suggest, Prashanti? That stay on H1B
I would
until you
say
get a
stay
green
on
card?
H1B so that you have more options available. And if and obviously you cannot have two 485s. At some point you have to decide which one to keep, and you have more options available for you then.
Right.
If you move to EAD, then you're locked onto a 485. You can choose which one. It could be the EB2 or the EB3 485, either one. But at some point, one of them has to be cancelled. So just to keep your options open, I would just suggest to continue on a H1 if you can.
Getting it. Thank you. And Prashanti, let's trace it back to the history. 2007, some magic happened. Similar things happened. The dates became current, and then people came on EADs. But again, retrogression happened, and green card visa numbers were not available for years. It took people for 12 to 13 years to get their finally, green cards. Do you foresee something like that in this situation right now, or it'll be a little better?
Well, I think rather than dreaming and hoping, and we don't want another pandemic to happen, right? I mean, everything comes with a cost.
Okay,
So we don't want this to be a reason for cases to move forward. I think,
right.
Jyotsna, this is where advocacy is so important.
Absolutely. I've been doing it. We've been doing it, and we'll be again vocal about it now.
Right. I mean, this is again the time to advocate because, again, a lot of people did get their green cards. They were just lucky. But how long can we rely on luck for? So I think
Very true.
it's very important to advocate again with the Biden administration. They have so many bills pending on this matter, at least five or six, right?
Absolutely.
And we have to see what happens with the midterm election, of course. And if something beneficial happens and if they're able to keep, both parties, one party is
Correct.
able to keep both houses, then
Right.
we might see something happening. Again, it's a numbers game, right? Um,
Very true.
all the Democrats and some of the Republicans have to support it. Any bill that moves forward, and
Bills are tough
that's
to
where the deadlock is.
get through, Prashanti. Bills are tough. I have been doing this advocacy for almost 4 years now, four plus years, specifically for green card backlog. And what we have noticed is, I mean, of course, we work with Democrats, we work with Republicans as for the people to understand. Of course, I'm co-founder of a nonprofit called as High Skilled Immigrants for America. It was founded just for the reason to do the advocacy. I don't publicize that nonprofit anywhere. I mean, we have to send letters out. I would send it out silently. That's out. But then, yes, people participation is required. And so far, none of the governments have done anything for the green card backlog. It is a fact. Unless everybody comes together and raises voice, it's not going to happen. And of course, last year, howsoever, whatever way USCIS adjudicated the cases, how delayed the process was, how much frustration you have. Now, the fact is, there is a retrogression that has come. 2.5 years. These 2.5 years of retrogression are not going to go easily. It's not happening soon next year, as Prashanti says, or next to next year even. So you'll have to survive on EADs only then, if that be the case. And as Prashanti says, coming on EAD itself has its own perils. Prashanti, enlighten us a little bit more. If people say, okay, I'm done with it now, I'm done with the stamping issues, I will just keep my EAD AP with me now and survive. How do you see that situation?
I think it's better than being on a H1. So something is better than nothing because you have the ability to then move from one employer to another. At least we have AC21. And there's some good things that happened recently because of their push to process, all the visa numbers this year. That is a good thing actually,
Mm-hmm.
because last year so many visa numbers were wasted.
Right.
This year it looks like they're using up all the visa numbers, and that's a big silver lining if they're going to continue to do that. And the reason they're able to do that is that everything has been moved to the field offices, right? All adjudication of 485s have moved to FODs,
Right.
the Field Operations Directorate, and this has caused really improvement in their processing time. Now FODs are adjudicating 96% of employment-based cases.
Okay.
We know field offices never adjudicated any cases; they only took interviews. So now they've moved everything to field offices. So I was a bit skeptical about how field offices will certainly have the capability of processing all these cases when they already have
Mm-hmm.
their own workload. But it
Right.
seems like they're doing it and pretty successfully if you look at how they were able to use up all the visa numbers. So
Right.
that's a silver lining, and you always have to look for some silver lining.
So
So at
some
least they're
changes have
using
come
up
in
the
the
numbers that are
policies.
there. Yeah,
Right,
they're
right.
using up the numbers that are
So
there.
Prashanti, we are left with another 10 minutes as I don't want to take much of your time. 1 hour is sufficient to get answers. Of course, we'll go for the summary of everything. One last caller, if anybody wants to call, I'm giving my number again, 201-780-2442. I repeat, 201-780-2442. You can call me and you can ask the last question. Of course, we'll go to summarize everything. And of course, I have a little curious question for the family-based visa immigrants also as to what. Okay, I got a call. Let's take this lucky person now. Hello.
Hello,
Please take your name and the question, please.
this is Prasad Reddy again. I had just a
Yes.
follow-up question on the
Okay,
same
Prasad.
asked. Uh, can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so my follow-up question is like, let's say when I go to India and I get stuck there and not able to get my H1 visa stamped. So let's say I just wait out there and will my green card application be continue, like it's in process, or will they cancel it? Like if I just get stuck there without any stamping, just stay there for a few years.
Yeah, if
Few
you leave
years.
the country and you don't come back, Jyotsna, you want to repeat the question for those who maybe didn't hear it?
Okay, yes. So I will repeat this question. Prasad Reddy says he is ready to take a little risk while his green card adjudication is in process as the dates have retrogressed. If he goes to India, goes for a visa stamping and unfortunately gets stuck, say somehow, for a few years, will his green card process be still in place or not?
So the answer to that is, a 485 is only for people who reside in the US. It is not for people who don't reside in the US. So I would say a stay of 6 months or more would kind of break your residency in the US. So most probably what will happen is a few years is a lot of time. So a 485 cannot be processed in this country if you're not in the country, right? You have to be in the country. I mean, intermittent travel, being outside the country for 2, 3 months, 4 months, and you're going on vacation does not affect your 485. But if you have moved residency and you start taking up a job and you're living now not in the US, then most probably your 485 will not be processed. Then you'll still have your I-140. And what will happen is you'll have to file for I-140 consular processing, which means that then NVC, National Visa Center, will be involved. It's a similar process to a 485, which you'll have to go through again. National Visa Center will collect all your documents, you'll have to fill out a bunch of forms. And once that processing is over, then they will then transfer your case to the consulate. And once the consulate has appointments available for you, they will schedule an appointment for you, and they will have an interview for you, and they will adjudicate your case at some point and give you the green card that way.
Okay, so all this can happen if, let's say, my H1 visa is not stamped and I get stuck.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
don't want to spend
Sure.
more
Thank you.
your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right. Pretty tricky. I mean, people
Yeah,
have lost their
yes,
patience. That's the problem, why
right.
it is coming. These questions are coming, Prashanti.
So the other thing that has come to light is basically they are talking about processing times, and they've said that agency-wide processing times for EB2 and EB3 for 485s is kind of about 20 months for about 80% of the cases. So it's good to have some processing time, so it's about 20 months. But what happened with the October 2020 cases is we've seen that it's more than it's the processing time was much more than 20 months, and we've seen
I know.
that some 485s filed this year, it's been much less than 20 months. They've in fact got approved in a couple of months.
True.
So if you're an October 2020 case, they're saying that the processing time went up because there was um, so many cases that were filed at that time. So that's why we see a discrepancy in processing times. So the processing times were 15 months
Hmm.
in 2022 as opposed to that 20 months, and
Right. I'm
14 months
getting a
and 13
caller again,
months.
Prashanti. Sorry to interrupt. Let me see. I don't
Sure.
know who's. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes. You have a question for Prashanti?
Yeah, I did.
Your, your name, please? Right, Pinkesh, ask your question.
Go back to the industry and have a managerial position. I apply on EB. So that's the question. Second question is, do you think the USCIS has engineered the usage such that there is very little spillover in EB2, so that things like email processing of EB1 and tweeting every day, things like that.
No.
As a very short demand. I mean, you can see there is a demand of trading. I mean, everybody can see it.
Right.
So why did they really force everyone else to?
Okay, interesting question. And I know the emotions there. Prashanthi, what's your take?
Couldn't hear anything, so you have to repeat the entire question.
Okay. So his, of course, first situation is leaving the country, and he says, if I go out and stay there for 1 or 2 years and come back on a managerial role, to make it easy. How plausible it is.
It is plausible, and a lot of people are doing that. Infosys and Cognizant are filing EB1 cases by the dozens, by the
Really?
hundreds,
They've
because
started again?
EB1 is current. I don't know how long it'll be current for, but people are
Right.
really just coming on EB1s. But of course, it
Right.
depends on your employer whether they qualify to file such a case. It's really the size of the company does matter, uh,
So
but it
can
is
they take
plausible.
the reference of EB2 date, I-140 filing date when they come back?
Yeah,
In case,
they can port the priority date, but they don't
okay,
need to because EB1 is current.
all right. Another
So
question was, has USCIS engineered everything the way things have delayed and they're showing that everything is working out? A lot of tweets coming from USCIS these days that they're very active in responding to cases. And I understand that that's a frustration, of course, anybody and everybody would have right now.
right, I don't really support the way USCIS has functioned in the past couple of years. A lot of it is left, uh, there's a lot of incompetence and mismanagement of funds and
And
blah
I
blah
have a
blah.
question, Prashanti.
So yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
but
you.
just quickly, to finish my thought on that USCIS functioning,
Mhm.
during COVID they laid off
Right. They laid
hundreds
off
of
many
people,
people.
and they found themselves in a situation because they laid off because for a few months
Right.
during COVID in March 2020, they didn't have enough applications. So they just decided to lay off thousands of people,
And that
and
was
they
the
couldn't
problem.
get back to speed after that. After
Absolutely.
that, it was like downhill. One thing led to another, and it was a roller coaster of things
That's
going
how the mayhem,
downhill.
it all fell on us, the immigrants,
It
the
all fell
green
on
card
us. It
backlog
was the,
community. So I have another
the
caller, Prashanti. They don't want to let you go when I said I'm leaving now. So may I know your name, please?
Hi, Jyotsna. My name is Vishal.
Vishal.
Hello, Prashanti.
hi.
I have a quick question. So USCIS has already now said they have got like 60,000 family-based spillover. So what do you think? What are your thoughts? So the dates will start moving again. My priority date is like August 2014. I filed, but I never got the green card. Maybe I'm one of those unlucky folks. So you see the dates going back to 2014 again?
I heard part of it, but not the whole thing.
He says 2014 is his priority. Of course, he's the unlucky one who could not get his green card in
Yeah.
time because of the delays by USCIS. When do you foresee that 2014 becoming current?
Again, I don't know. I wish I had good news. And maybe there is. I mean, no news doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad news, right? But I mean, based on what USCIS, I mean, is envisioning with reference to processing times, um, they are saying that EB3 will move forward. So again, we are back to the same downgrade, upgrade.
My goodness, how
This
many
whole
up,
thing with
down, up, down?
downgrade and upgrade. So they're saying EB2 will likely remain current for applicants from all countries. Yay, good for the other countries other than India and China. EB2 will likely retrogress for India, and we have already seen that. And EB3 will likely advance for India. So now all the folks can go back to, the after the interfiling again downgrade to
My
EB3.
goodness, seriously?
Interfiling back to EB3 or EB2.
This is too
If
much.
you
I
have,
mean,
that's why it's important. It's good to have both EB2 and EB3. If you filed a new petition and not
okay,
amended
I
your
have a question.
I-140, yeah.
Somebody has EB2, okay? No, somebody had EB3. So they moved up to EB2, okay? No, sorry, no, it doesn't happen. Somebody had EB3, came down to, I mean,
Somebody had
EB2 came down
EB2
to
and came down
EB3,
to EB3. Yeah.
EB2 came down to EB3, EB2 became current, back again to EB2, and then again coming to EB3. Does any previous EB3 have relation to be immediately ported or something like that? I mean, it's
So it's
not
the
a,
same thing. Interfiling, you do interfiling again.
I
And
mean,
this time, instead of asking
again a
interfiling
process?
to
Huh.
EB2, you do interfiling to EB3.
All right. I have another caller, Prashanti. I'm taking this caller as well. Uh, may I know your name, please?
This is Harini.
Harini, question, please.
Question is, as per USCIS, there are about 60,000 spillovers from family-based from the last fiscal year. So would that spillover be expected to be allocated to EB2s? If so, will there be any progression in the priority dates?
Same question.
So, yeah, so there's no spillover, my dear, from one year to another. This year is almost over.
Oh
And
my
they're
God.
saying the
Okay.
visa numbers are already used up. So whatever spillovers don't go from year to year. They finish that year and that's it. And that's
So
the whole
base
thing, right? That's one of the rules that they want to change, making use of unused visa numbers from
to
previous
the
years.
next year.
If they
So
make use of that, everybody becomes current. So there's a lot of numbers available, but
Harini,
it doesn't
okay,
spill
if you're
over.
not able to hear Prashanti and Prashanti, Harini,
Yeah.
Prashanti says the spillover was for 2022 and it ends now. It doesn't get forwarded to 2023 to be availed in 2023. So the family-based spillover ends here. It will be wasted. You understand? It
Okay.
it doesn't move further. And if that's the
If there
sorry
is
state.
if there is a further spillover in 2023, then that will benefit us. But they're saying that the family-based numbers are
Mhm.
being used rigorously for the next year because everything is kind of going back to normal. So the
Right.
family-based numbers are going to be used more robustly than they were used last year. So they're not expecting. That's why there's retrogression, right? Of the EB2, they're not expecting much
Yes.
spillover. So we have to wait and see what happens.
All right. Thank you, Harini. I hope you got the
Thank
answer.
you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Prashanti, thank you so much for your time. In fact, it's already 1 hour past. But yes, let's summarize as we spoke about those steps. If you can provide a summary, it'll be excellent, before we leave.
So the summary is that EB2 has retrogressed by 2 years and 8 months. EB3 seems to be slowly inching forward, and it's likely that there will be some advancement in final action dates for EB3 for India moving forward. And we don't expect much spillover from the family-based cases to employment-based cases as we've been seeing the last 2 years. Further summary is that USCIS has been successful in using the available visa numbers. They've used all of them, they're saying. Uh, so none of them are wasted as they were in 2021. And the reason they've been able to do this is they have moved all the 485s for processing to the field offices and to NBC, and they've moved them away from Vermont and Texas. So this is, I think, the summary of what we've been saying for the last 1 hour.
Thank you so much, Prashanti. And Prashanti, if somebody has to consult you in person, of course, they need the right attorney to present their case, and every case is different, you know. Where should they connect you?
You can go to my website and my email address will be there. You can send me an email, readyesq.com. That's my website. And you can find information there on how to contact me.
Perfect. Somebody is countering, says that is not correct. USCIS announced that DOS expects 200K EB visa as opposed to 140K EB visa. Basically, 60K got spillover from FB to EB. It's all past
So
now.
I don't know, but based on what USCIS has said at the ELA conference, they're not expecting much of a spillover. Then you would have seen progression, right, in your EB2 cases. There is a 2+ year retrogression, and we're not seeing any progression in EB2. Then there would have
Looks
been
like there's a little
some.
contradiction on this statement, though, Prashanti. Some other people are saying that they saw the USCIS link on same. Looks like, but then 60,000. If it doesn't move, it just ends on 6th of September. This means.
Yeah, so again, maybe it is information that I do not know, and maybe you have more latest information than I have. But based on the information that I have, for 2023, there is not going to be much of a spillover with family-based cases, and that's why we saw the retrogression. 2022, there has been a lot of spillover. I told you 140,000 cases. There has been a spillover, but that ends as of the end of this month.
Basically, even if there was a spillover of 60,000 also, it all ends on 6th of September or 30th of September.
30th of September, but they're saying that they've already used up the visa numbers,
Okay, so they're saying they've already
including
used
the
up.
spillover.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, I actually did not follow up on that news also, so I cannot comment here from my side. But yes, people,
We can definitely
Prashanti
look
has
it
given.
up and give you more information as to what that 60,000 number is and
Prasad Reddy has
what they're
given the
referring
link
to.
right now. I mean,
Yeah.
I cannot open the
And you
link
can
on the
send me an
system.
email on that if you have further questions on that, and I'll look it up and let you know.
Right, right, right. And we definitely would like to have you again on some monthly, sessions, Prashanti, just to, guide the community. And as we speak about this, people, all of you, I understand it's a very sorry state that all happiness just got junked because of the retrogression that happened, uh, you know, uh, all of a sudden. It was not in the expectations. Advocacy is one thing you'll have to do, because you'll have to clear a path, steer clear the path for everybody, the future generations to come, those people who are on OPTs right now looking for green cards, to H1B route. This is a long journey. Unless there is a congressional change, nothing is going to happen. You all will have to join hands together for this. So don't just wait for your luck to shine. Corona doesn't happen every time. In fact, that was, I know it was a disaster for the world, but COVID did benefit the green card backlog community. What an irony, So it doesn't happen. It was historic. It doesn't happen like this. Prashanti, thank you so much for all your time today and the guidance. And we look forward to definitely have more sessions with you. And people, definitely you can connect with Prashanti Reddy on Reddy, ready.esq.com, right?
ReddyESQ.com.
Okay, Reddy, REDDYESQ.com. And what would be the telephone number, Prashant, if you want to take?
You can call me at 212-354-1010.
212-354-1010.
1010.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Prashanti. Thanks everyone for watching us tonight. And I will keep coming back with Trending with Jyotsna Sharma on special topics. Anything and everything will be discussed here. This was Immigration Today. We will talk about a lot of issues that concern the students, the drug addiction, vaping. That would be my forthcoming, topic to discuss on with the experts. And of course, we will discuss more on many other things which are relevant to the community altogether. Stay tuned with us. God bless you. God bless America. God bless India. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Prashanti.
Thank you. Thank you, Jyotsna.
All right. I just want to. 1 second.